What is going on, everybody? Just wanted to make a video on a feature that is coming to Madden 18 this year, new in the Madden franchise, and that is coach adjustments. Now, being somebody who used to play the NCAA games pretty much more than I'd play Madden, back when they used to make them, NCAA 14 was the last year that they had a game in that franchise. This is a feature that I remember very fondly. It was a really cool part of the NCAA game. You could really customize your play style. Different players had different play styles, different opinions on the best settings for these adjustments, and so it was always interesting to see how people kind of approached it. So something I remember very fondly. And right here, just to plug real quick, I'm on medium.com. Now, Medium is a blogging site. It's very straightforward, very simple. Makes it very easy to post write-ups, blogs, vlogs, whatever you want to post. So on here, I do post blogs probably about 3 or 4 times a week, or try to at least, mostly on strategical write-ups. So if that's something that you would be interested in reading, definitely check it out. I put the link for it in the description to my videos. It's medium.com/@Holden_Petrie, which is my name. And so just if that's something you'd be interested in, definitely check it out. So coach adjustments. So for offense, I'm just going to go through these one by one. They have offensive and defensive. So starting off on the offensive side of the ball carrier. So you have pretty much for each setting a balanced, conservative, or aggressive setting for each one. Now balanced obviously going to be in between, pretty much as if, coach adjustments didn't exist. Pretty much the stock, standard, default setting that you're going to see that's basically been used in Madden over the past however many years since, coach adjustments didn't exist. So balance is basically just going to be regular settings. Now, ball carrier, conservative. The pros, obviously being conservative on the ball carrying, you're going to have a decreased fumble chance. Cons, you're going to have a decreased chance to break tackles. So basically this is good for, at the end of the game, milking the clock, you really don't want to fumble. Or if you're just a low-risk ball control type of player and you're cool with, 3 or 4 yards, try to fall forward, not break too many tackles, just really want to control the ball, that's the setting for you. Now aggressive, higher chance to break tackles, but also a higher chance to fumble. So this is going to be something that you're going to have to really test out in the tuning stage of the game when it first comes out. People are going to experiment with this, see how high that fumble chance really is and how high that break tackle chance is. See if the risk is worth the reward. So that's just going to all come down to tuning, but conservative I think definitely has its place in the game plan for sure. Blocking, so balanced blockers block as they normally would. Conservative, you have a lower chance of getting a holding penalty, but the con is that they have a quicker block shed rate for defenders. So this is something that is basically going to be prevalent if it depends on how frequent those holding penalties get called. Now, in head-to-head this past year, you basically didn't have holding penalties. So with the addition of this, I think they're definitely going to have to introduce that into head-to-head now, since you have to have some type of drawback for putting blocking on aggressive, since the con for aggressive is it's an increased chance of being called for holding. So it really just remains to be seen what kind of threshold they do put in the game for that and how often those penalties get called. And I think that's really going to dictate whether people go conservative, aggressive, or just remain balanced just the way it always has been. So deep pass catching, balance obviously how it's always been. Conservative, the pro for conservative is a higher catch rate on deep passes. The cons is that basically they won't get any rack yards. They won't go for rack attempts. So this is something I could see maybe, if you're late in the game and you go for a deep pass and you just want to lay down, this could be a setting you adjust. Or if you're just going for, one-on-one deep matchups with big receivers and you're not worried about getting really rack yards, you just want to come down with the ball, maybe conservative is a setting for you. Now aggressive, AI receivers will always go for rack attempts, and the cons, a decreased catch percentage. So basically the opposite of conservative, obviously. This will be something, if you have a bunch of speedy receivers, just off the top of my head, if you can get behind the defense, you want to go for those rack attempts. You don't want to, go for a possession catch. If you have 3 yards on the opposing defender, you want to rack it and run in for a touchdown. Now, something to point out with these deep pass catching, and they also have intermediate pass catching, which is the next thing. This is only for AI controlled receivers. So this is for if you don't feel comfortable inputting a command and telling the receiver, which catch to go for, whether it be possession, rack, or aggressive. If you're more of a hands-off type of player, then this will come into play for you. However, if you are, a player who is confident in their ability to make a decision on the fly like that, to say, don't go for a rack, go for aggressive, or, I have a step on him, I can afford to go for a rack right here, then this really won't have any effect on you, since you'll be inputting the command yourself, and it won't be about that AI making that decision for you. So intermediate pass catching, very similar to deep pass catching. Conservative, increased catch percentage, since AI receivers will go for possession catches, and the cons, decreased opportunities for rack attempts. And so basically same thing, aggressive, opposite. AI receivers will attempt a rack or aggressive catch. And I accidentally wrote pros in twice there. It should be pros and cons. The cons right here, this should be cons, lower catch percentage, and increased chance of the pass being broken up. So once again, this is only going to affect you if you don't feel comfortable inputting the command and want the AI to make the decision for you. So obviously, if you're more of a conservative player, you want that catch percentage. If you're trying to, say, like thread the needle, you probably want to go for those possession catches, not go for the aggressive or rack catches. However, if you're going, maybe one-on-one with a big receiver, you want him to go up for that aggressive catch, so you might go for that aggressive setting on here. Or if you're going deep for that burner, or not deep but over the middle, crossing route, and you want to be able to rack it, turn upfield, try to make a defender miss, get some extra yards, then the aggressive setting might be for you. So now that does it for the offensive side of the ball. Now for the defense, a handy tip they put in now is that you can toggle auto flip on and off in the defensive adjustment section. So that's nice that you can toggle it on and off supposedly in game, I'm assuming, as opposed to actually having to pause it and go, to the settings menu, which you couldn't actually even do if you were in an online game. You had to change it, at the main menu in the game. So that'll be nice to have. So now ball in air defense. So you've got 4 different settings here: balanced, SWAT ball, play ball, and play receiver. So balanced, the AI will react based on the play ball and air trait. So each player in MUT, even in regular teams, has a trait of how they play the ball in the air. I think it's like aggressive, conservative, or balanced. That's probably the 3, I think. So they'll act off of their trait. Now SWAT, the AI will go for SWAT in 2-man catch situations. Play ball, the AI will go for the ball. Play receiver will play the receiver. So once again, this kind of goes back to the catching. This comes into play if you're not comfortable making a decision on the fly. Obviously, SWAT ball has a much higher chance of breaking up the pass, but no really chance for a pick. Play ball, obviously the opposite of that, more chance for a pick, but you have more of a chance of messing up and giving up a big play. And then the receiver, basically your defender has a good chance of knocking the ball out of the receiver's hand, or at least immediately making a tackle. Cornerback matchups. Now this will probably be the most in-depth of all of them, I think, and this will basically be decided on the meta of the game and what is effective and what is not. So balanced, normal alignment. By overall, you have your highest corner will match up against their highest receiver. Speed, fastest on fastest. Height, tallest on tallest. Route running, highest man coverage versus highest route running. And then depth chart is by your depth chart versus your opponent's depth chart. So I think speed and height will be highly dictated on what is good this year. If there's a good, if aggressive catching comes back, aggressive catching is OP again, or if there's a user catch that comes out where you need a tall corner, such as, this past year you had the swerve. A few years ago you had face catching where you needed that tall corner out there. So if something like that makes a comeback, then height will be very important. I could see by height being used. Speed, if really fast receivers are OP this year, if, streak routes are hard to defend against deep, then I could see speed being a factor. Route running, it really depends on that threshold for the route running and how effective those super crisp routes are. I heard that I think Clint Oldenburg said that they overhauled man coverage really and made shading a lot more effective. So that will play into, how badly you need your top corner to cover their best route runner. And then overall in depth chart, I feel like are kind of similar, but I guess overall, if you have that one guy who's going to be a shutdown corner and they have that one receiver that you really need to watch out for, that could be a setting that could work in that matchup. You want really your best guy. You have like a Deion Sanders and they have, like a Julio Jones. You really want Deion on Julio every single play. That's something you could go for. But I think the cornerback matchups will be heavily dictated by the meta and by what is effective in this year's game, which obviously only time will tell. Can't really make a call on that as of right now, but I think speed and height both have the potential to be big players in that cornerback matchups. Option defense, balanced, conservative, aggressive. Conservative, play the QB. Aggressive, play the halfback or pitchman. Back in NCAA, what I used to do a lot was I would go conservative, so play the QB, and then I would just user and take the pitchman or the halfback. I think that's the better way to do it, but that might just be style or my style. I'm not sure, but that's probably what I would lean towards. But either way, you're going to have to make a play. If you go aggressive, then you're going to have to rely on your user to, take the quarterback out of the play. Pass rush, balanced, conservative, aggressive. Conservative defenders will look to contain the QB inside the pocket as well as swat passes at the expense of a worse pass rush. Aggressive defenders will attempt to jump the snap and get after the QB at the cost of more offsides penalties, less swats, and less containment. So really, I think it comes down to if you're playing against a super mobile quarterback, and this comes down to how effective mobile quarterbacks will be this year. If mobile QBs are rampant online and really effective, then you might have to go with more of a conservative pass rush to keep them inside the pocket and not get beat by the quarterback's legs. If mobile QBs kind of fall off this year, if they bring back pocket passers, it seems like that's kind of been the way they've been going, although mobile QBs are always so good, so it's just hard to imagine them completely going away. But if for some reason they do, I could see aggressive being more of the lean towards setting for this in terms of online competition, because you don't really have to worry as much about, a pocket passer getting out and containing him inside the pocket. So that'll dictate what I think the most popular setting for pass rush is. Strip ball and tackling. Now these two kind of go hand in hand. Strip ball is for strips. Tackling is more for hit sticks. Now both conservative, your defenders will wrap up tackles more effectively, but will not go for any strips. Also tackling, higher chance of making tackles, but a higher chance of allowing your opponent to fall forward. So I think this just goes by your style. Are you more of a high risk, high reward type guy? If so, then I think you might go for aggressive. Also aggressive strip ball, you have a higher chance of getting broken tackles and face mask penalties. So it really depends how often those face mask penalties occur if you do go for that aggressive strip ball setting. But I think what I would do is probably go conservative on strip ball, because I don't want, a random face mask to cost me the game. And then tackling, I think as the year goes on, more and more people will lean towards aggressive, because you'll have a higher chance of the AI connecting with the hit stick. So the more and the year goes on, the more and more those high hit power items come out in MUT. You're going to see in salary cap, head-to-head, MUT squads, whatever it may be. And so it's going to get to the point where basically all 11 players on defense, have the ability to pop the running back or whoever has the ball carrier in the mouth and cause a fumble. So I think that's where the aggressive tackling could come into play. You'll have much more opportunities for your AI to land those big hits, having those hitters all over the field. So I think for right now, as the year begins, I would probably go conservative and balanced. But I think as the year goes on, I think I would stick with conservative strip ball. And that depends how, OP the strip mechanic is. A few years back, stripping was super OP. So in that case, I'd probably go aggressive or balanced at the very least. But I think at first glance, I would probably go conservative strip ball and balance tackling, and then as the year goes on, just make the switch to aggressive tackling to allow for my AI hitters to really lay the wood out there. So that's all of the coach adjustments. Definitely check them out. I think EA has a blog on them. If not, you can come here, and I have them all written down if you want to review them again. But like I said, they were in NCAA games in years past. I hope this video kind of, gave you guys some knowledge on some of the new features in Madden 18. Maybe I got you guys a little more excited for the customizability and, increased amount of game planning that you have and control over your game plan that you have going into a game. And until next time, guys, take it easy.